They say, where you from? I say the 510. They ask me, do I keep it Ivy? And I say, yeah, for sure. I keep it real for sure. What? Baby, you already know. I ain't got no time, so please don't hit my line. I got that Titan pride. We from Skyline.
Welcome to Skyline Tea Time, brought to you by Dario's Dubious Liquid. I'm your host, Killian Bengs, with, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh yes, hi, my name is Kelkar. You can call me Somitra or Mr. Kelkar. I teach biology.
And so wait, do you teach biology for the Green Pathway, right?
I do, yeah, Gaia House. Yeah.
You're a ninth grade teacher?
Yep, and I teach one period of AP Bio, which is mostly juniors and seniors.
Oh, nice. Yeah, how are you? How's your day been?
I'm doing all right. I just got here a little bit ago. It's cold outside, but it's wet, which I like, because that means mushrooms are about to start coming up, but not yet. It's still a little early.
It's pretty, I mean, it's pretty wet right now.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It takes them a couple weeks to start growing, though.
Yeah, I remember last year I had your class, and we collected mushrooms out of the ground, and now I see them everywhere I go, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you can't unsee them once you start seeing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like Skyline? I mean...
Oh, I love Skyline. Yeah, I feel really lucky to have landed, basically my dream job straight out of college.
It's in the middle of the woods. You're a biology teacher.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I'm also, an academically trained forester, so I like being in the forest. This is what I know, what I do best. So yeah, I feel very lucky to have the opportunity to, be in the forest and also teach at a high school, and also, take kids into the forest, because I feel like, I don't know, it just feels like this out there wilderness place to a lot of people, and I think being in it makes it feel more real.
Yeah, you allow other kids to be, or kids that might not usually be in the forest. To explore that, get to understand certain parts of nature.
Yeah.
I really liked your class last year.
Thanks, I'm glad you liked it. I liked having you as a student. It was a good time.
Let's see. Should we talk about, let's talk about violence at Skyline. There's
getting right into it. Cool.
Obscene amount of fights at school. I mean, even yesterday, you saw there by the 70s building, which is near your classroom, there was, a huge huddle of people.
Yeah.
And at lunch, there's constantly fights at Skyline. Do you know anything about this, or
I mean, it's hard to say because different people have different motivations for making similar decisions. I will say that at this school, I am very disappointed by the fact that de-escalation is not part of the culture among students. I definitely know that there are some students who encourage their friends to not get into fights, but it is very much a norm at this school for kids to find excuses to escalate conflicts, and I think that leads to a lot of very real harm. And I think people don't necessarily think about the fact that by just saying things like, oh, they said something about you online, you should go beat them up. Even if that doesn't itself result in a fight, it still contributes to a culture where this campus is more physically dangerous for a lot of people, especially people from really vulnerable, marginalized communities, than other campuses.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, when there's a fight, people don't try to stop the fight. People take out their phones, try to record and hype it on.
Everyone wants to make a viral video of people fighting, and I'm you realize these are actual human beings experiencing one of the lowest points of their life and actually getting hurt, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
don't realize that.
It just encourages it more, and then more people come and huddle around it, and it's everyone just wants to see people fight each other, and it's just demoralizing.
I do find that pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know if I know that this year there's been a lot more violence than previous years. I mean, you're also new here, so I'm not sure if you know about previous years.
Yeah, I really don't.
But why do you think there would be more or less violence now? Or do you have any ideas about that?
Honestly, I truly have no idea. I don't think I have a well-informed perspective on that question.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know either. I can assume that, there's people at other schools that are coming up and fighting, right? And
I actually am not aware of that.
Oh, that's what I personally heard.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing about fights, there's just injuries.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's just trying to injure somebody else and hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And really, a Skyline culture, the idea to encourage these fights and not end up preventing them is just, it doesn't help out in any way possible.
Yeah, it just causes the most vulnerable people to continue to be beaten down, especially at a place like school where people should be safe, right? Shouldn't this be a place where people get uplifted and have access to better things than just being beaten up all the time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Now, All right, let's go to tea time, okay?
Oh, boy. Okay.
So,
Cool.
tea time is, we're going to talk to you about relationship advice. What's the best relationship you've ever been in, or the worst relationship you've ever
I've
been
actually
in?
never been in a relationship.
You haven't?
Nope.
Me neither.
Cool.
Actually, I mean, it's been those things where it's like,
Yeah.
you're just like starting something and then like
Yeah,
you kind of back
I've been
out.
in like situationships, I guess, but like, you know.
Not like a full relationship.
Yeah, not like a full-blown, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of a funny relationship that you had to back out of, or?
Not real. I feel like so far. I mean, I haven't been in like a long-term committed relationship, as I mentioned, but like I've had a pretty good time dating. I mean, I like to communicate clearly, and I really only get involved with people who can like communicate clearly. So there's usually very little drama, very little. I don't know. I've never really had a romantic experience go super badly. I'm still on good terms with pretty much everyone I've ever dated. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kind of tea, like actual tea?
My
I mean, you
favorite
got
tea-
some right now.
I like yerba mate, which technically is an infusion. Technically, tea is just one species of plant. It's Camellia sinensis, which comes from Eastern and Southern Asia. So like green tea, black tea, oolong tea, Darjeeling tea, those are all Camellia sinensis. Broadly speaking, there are two major words for tea. Places that got tea via the ocean, they call it tea or te, or other things in other languages that are similar. And then if they got tea via land, like via the Silk Road, usually those languages call it chai or cha or chaha or things like that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but yerba mate is technically not a tea. It's in the holly family, which is a different family than true tea. So technically, any like tea made out of any plant that isn't Camellia sinensis is technically an infusion. So yerba mate is an infusion, not a tea.
So what's in yerba mate?
Yerba mate is a species of holly from South America, and the leaves have a lot of caffeine, and caffeine happens to be my favorite recreational drug, and it's the only one I'm allowed to do at school. So, yeah.
I personally really like Earl Grey. Do you like boba?
I do like boba.
Boba's pretty good.
It's
People
pretty good.
sometimes don't like the
Yeah, I'm
tapioca
lactose
balls.
intolerant, so I have to munch those little pills every time, but like, it's worth it. Yeah.
Let's move on to trash. I mean,
Okay.
At Skyline, there's an obscene amount of trash.
There is an obscene amount of trash.
And there's a lot of littering at Skyline. How do we prevent this, or like, it's just an obscenely big problem.
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of it is convenience. Like, I am ashamed to admit that I myself have littered in the past, especially like when I was younger and I didn't really understand the fact that like every piece of plastic that has ever been manufactured still exists. For the most part, I mean, some pieces of plastic have been burned, but in general, plastic doesn't really break down. So I wasn't really thinking about the fact that, like, if I drop a piece of plastic on the ground, that piece of plastic is going to be here on Earth, like, thousands of years after I'm gone. And it just keeps building up and up and up. I think it would be easier for people to keep the campus cleaner if there were more trash cans in more places, and especially if they were, like, brightly colored so people could see them. And I also see that, like, the dumpsters that we have over by the corner of campus, a lot of wild animals get into there when the kids are gone, trying to like look for food scraps and stuff. And you know, raccoons and crows have no consciousness about littering, so they just kind of like throw trash all over the place. I feel like lids on the dumpsters might help, but at the same time, a lot of times the dumpsters have to overflow with the amount of trash we have to dispose in them. So yeah, I think there's some things we could do to alleviate the problem, but I don't think there's like an easy silver bullet fix.
Yeah, there's definitely things we can do. I mean, there's just a littering problem in general.
Yeah.
I really don't understand why kids think that it's okay to litter. I feel like some people think. Saw the other day, one person I knew just littered, and I was like, bro, I mean, pick that up. I mean, like, why are you littering?
Yeah.
And the thing that they were saying was like, well, no one cares. But it's like, but why does nobody care? Why is it's not a problem that's like actually addressed?
I think kind of like fighting. I think it's easy to create a culture of not caring. Yeah, sorry, I had an intelligent thought in my head and then I lost it. Now that I'm on camera, I'm a little nervous, so my stage fright is getting to me. What was I trying to say?
I feel like...
Okay, so I think there's a difference between people like not caring about the environment and people not even realizing how their actions impact the environment. And I think those are two different things. Like, I think it's relatively easy to like make it easier for someone to actually dispose of their trash properly. And I think it's a little bit more difficult to convince someone why they are not, in fact, entitled to just throw their trash on the ground and make it someone else's problem. But at the same time, I think most of the litter on campus just comes from people like not realizing where their trash actually goes, and not realizing how much harm it actually does. And, you know, I think that's a solvable problem. That's the point of education, right?
Yeah, I think that, what's it called? For trash-wise, there's some solutions. I mean, you were saying like more trash cans that are like definitely brightly colored. That makes people
and with
like,
lids so the wild animals can't get in after
Yeah, I
school.
think
We have a
that's
lot
really
of wild
smart.
animals on campus: coyotes, foxes, badgers, things like that.
Yeah, like once like it goes like dark, or I mean, literally once people leave. I mean, there's turkeys, all sorts of animals, because we're up in the hills.
Yeah, if you hang out like a little bit after school these days, because the sunset is only a couple hours after school, you'll start to see bats. You'll hear crickets. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think the trash cans is a great idea, but I mean, just the idea of in total that like people shouldn't be littering, I think that needs to be like well across, because people don't care, and it's just it doesn't help anybody. It just I mean, it's just kids being lazy. And
I also think not enough people have, you know, that photo I showed you guys of that like dead baby bird that like the body cavity was full of plastic?
No, but I've seen multiple of those.
Oh, okay, yeah. I feel like people don't share enough imagery like that, because I think
that would actually scare. Yeah.
Yeah, it like shows people what actually happens to trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking like maybe at Skyline, maybe once like a month or something, or like it switches around, or like a decent amount of times where like each class goes out to a different part of this campus and has to pick up all the trash there.
Yeah.
Just because that allows us to actually clean up the place, or like yeah, maybe it's like everyone's I don't know, math class, like maybe every Friday has to go out and pick up trash. I mean, it doesn't have to be math class or anything.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, this is our campus, and we should keep it clean, especially with all these other wildlife around us. I think it's just something we need to do.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
And yeah, I think that's it. It was great to talk to you.
Cool. Likewise. Yeah, thanks for having me.